Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, heard Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on PSA.com and the PSA Facebook page. The Great American Collectibles Show is brought to you by PSA and the National Sports Collectors Convention. Tonight's headlines are brought to you by Sports Collectors Daily. For all of your hobby news, features, and more, visit sportscollectorsdaily.com. And now, your hosts, Tom Zappala and John Molori.
Johnny M., how you doing, buddy?
What's up, my man?
Nothing much. Hey, what do you think?
I love it. I love the hat. I love the hat, and I love the team. We were talking before the show.
Savannah Bananas. I mean, they're not. Listen, I mean, they're entertainment. It's strictly
For
entertainment.
people who don't know, go on YouTube. Savannah Bananas.
Go check out the Savannah Bananas.
Fun group, bringing fun back to baseball.
Family-orientated.
Absolutely.
You know what's interesting? We should ask Al and Lee. Al Crisafulli is guest hosting with us. Lee Behrens is going to join us in about 2 seconds.
Yep.
Then we have big Joe Drelich coming on. Why don't we put a card company together and create Savannah Banana trading cards? I mean, that's going to happen down the road, right?
You're right. It's definitely going to happen.
They're going to make personalities out of these guys.
That's right.
And it's like a Metal Lock Lemon card. That's what's going to wind up happening. But anyways, welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show. Tom Zappala, my good friend and co-host, Johnny Molori, affectionately known as JM. Listen, we're going to how do I say this without being
offensive?
We're going to blow our own horn.
Do
that, JM?
Do it.
So we were just notified yesterday, and we're very, very happy that our last book, not our latest, our last book, the Diamondback Collection, 50 of the greatest sports cards in sports collecting history, is written by Ellen and myself, John, contributions by Joe Orlando. We just were notified by the Independent Publishing Association that we are one of 2 finalists for Sports Book of the Year. And we are very, very excited about that. Now, JM, if we do win, the awards ceremony is in New York City. Can you go on our behalf?
Yeah, should we go back and relive what we did a few years ago?
You're on by yourself. You're on by yourself. All right. Anyway, so we're really happy and we're really pleased.
That's the Ben Franklin Awards. That's like the highest honor in independent book publishing, is it not?
As good as it gets. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Our headline.
Just one word of advice for those going to the ceremony. If you're nominated, do not have 3 Grey Goose martinis beforehand if you are nominated in the same category as a book about a bird. Just don't do it.
The backstory, that I know Al and Lee are watching us. The backstory is that Ellen and I and John drove into New York City for the Cracker Jack book.
Cracker Jack
we won
book,
the silver medal.
Yeah.
And we were imbibing in martinis. We started mid-afternoon. So it got a little out of hand.
And I didn't, in the Oscars when they show the person who didn't win and they're like, I kind of wasn't like that when we lost to the Bird book.
What do you mean we lost?
Anyway. Did you have some Cracker Jacks with you when you?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Man.
All right, listen, our headlines. Another one, JM. Burglars use truck
you're kidding
to
me.
smash in a Southern Cal shop, steal huge amount of merchandise. Police in Southern California are investigating a destructive burglary at a Southern California hobby shop last weekend. Burglars drove a pickup truck through the front of Captain Fish Collectibles in Tujunga just before 5 a.m. on March 20th, got out and scooped up valuable sports cards, cases, boxes, single cards, and a pair of Kobe Bryant autographed shoes.
Jeez.
It was all captured on the security cameras. Evidently, the loss could exceed $1 million. The products can be replaced eventually over time, but the emotional damage from it is going to take some time for sure. The owner, Savag Masakian, told news reporters. The driver backing the guy drove and backed a white truck into the store's front glass windows. 3 men got out and went toward the back of the shop, hauling out numerous high-end cases of cards, loose boxes, and single cases.
Wow.
For more information, you can go to sportscollectorsdaily.com. When is this all going to end?
This is terrible, and we talk a lot about, and some friends of ours who've been on the show have stores. We want to maintain that, right? The collectible store, that aspect of the business, but it's going to get to the point where, when you're showcasing these high-end items out front for everyone to see, maybe I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. And that's
Either
pretty.
that, you put reprints out, and then I
That's
was in the back.
You know
room.
what, Zap? You're right. You just put
know?
the exactly.
All right, let's
It's
bring
sad.
in Lee.
Yeah.
Lee Behrens from Sterling Sports Auction. How are you, Lee?
Hey, good.
Hey, Lee.
Hey, what are your
Here,
thoughts on
Minnesota.
this, man? What are your thoughts on this stuff? I mean, all these every week a sports card shop is getting broken into.
Well, it's sad, but it's not the only thing that's getting broken into these days.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's
And
true.
it our industry like this is not any good, that's for sure. And to try to keep track, if this stuff ever gets resold or whatever.
Absolutely.
I mean, we occasionally get emails or whatever from somebody. Hey, I got this stuff sold, and can you keep your eye on it? And that's like, well,
Do you ever get calls? And I'm going to ask Al when he comes on too. Do you ever get calls from suspicious individuals asking if you're interested in buying this, and this?
I rarely get a want to buy deal. And it's been pretty good. I mean, I think that's one of the beauties of being a smaller auction site is you don't get a lot of that compared to bigger ones. You kind of get bypassed for something like that, and
Really?
I've been lucky when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Lee, you have an auction ending tomorrow night.
Correct.
Today is Wednesday, and you've got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about the 48 Leaf, the PSA 4 Leaf. How's that doing?
That's doing really well. Still got a little room. Here's Mr. Ruth right here.
Great card.
Yeah, very solid 4. I mean, decent centering and everything. It's always tough to get the light.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a nice headliner card in the auction that a PSA. Another item that I think is really neat. Never seen them. 1909 World Series ticket stuff.
I saw that.
Was a little confused. PSA. It's been mislabeled as Game 1, but this was in Detroit's Galt Benton Park, and that was Game 3. Was their first game.
Now, tickets, World Series tickets are pretty much, especially the older ones, are pretty much in demand today, right? Tickets are
Tickets are getting
pretty
big.
popular.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty popular, aren't they?
Yeah, they got a good push over COVID also. A lot of those did. I kind of like it because I have a Joe Jackson notebook.
Can you talk about that a little bit, Lee? I saw that. Tell people what that is.
Well, they're just a composite notebook for kids would buy back in the day here's a Dizzy and Daffy Dean that'll be in the next one.
Yeah.
From the 30s, so it must have kind of from the 10s to the 30s or 40s, you could go buy your notebook or whatever. I think they even still do it now. But
Those that we just mentioned, the ticket, those kind of, we'll call them off non-card items.
Yep.
I think we're finding more and more people are really into that stuff, the programs, stuff like the notebook, photos, things like that.
Yeah, programs that the publications can really be hit or miss.
Yeah.
Whether you're gonna, I enjoy getting the nicer quality stuff, but I pass on a fair number of publications because it's a lot more work and it's a lot of weight to ship the stuff.
Right.
So it can just get really spendy beyond, trying to sell a $20 program. It sometimes costs you $20 to ship it.
Right.
Let me just to stay in there for a minute. I have a bunch of programs that I bought at an auction. And I honestly have not really investigated them. The only thing I did was I took the first 25 and I researched the particular game they're all scored. And, these are from 1901 to right.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah. So what kind of value? Let's say I have like a 1904 Red Sox program playing the Detroit Tigers. It's not the Red Sox, the Americans at the time, playing Detroit. It's scored. I have all the particulars about the game because I researched it on Baseball Reference on how many people were there. What kind of value are we talking there? Because I'm vacillating as to whether or not I should sell them, hold on to them. Any thoughts on that?
I just really don't have much background and stuff like that, especially when you get to 1904. I mean,
Right.
You're not going to find much history to. And I just do Google searches on a lot of stuff. I
can't find hardly anything. It's really, unless of course it's a World Series game.
Right.
That's a whole different ball game. But I'm going to ask Al when he comes on.
Yeah,
what else they have in the auction, Lee?
We got the nice selection of T206s. We have a bat on that's 3.5. I got a lower grade red portrait. There is a Cycle 460 Walter Johnson in the auction.
Very nice.
Here's some vintage, a PSA 9 Santo rookie. The light's really tough to deal with. 57 Aaron in a PSA 7.
Those are
Hey,
great
you know
cards.
what's pretty cool, Zap? You have in this auction, Lee, some unopened packs. You have unopened packs from like, I wrote down 1959, 65, 62, 69, 67, literally unopened packs. That's neat.
Yeah, and I think they're great too.
Yeah.
It was a deal where the consignor was willing to basically say, I'm willing to turn these over to you as no guarantee. You know, that he wasn't sure. He just kind of got frustrated with the authentication process. So I said, as long as you're fine with me putting in there that there's no guarantee that there's open, but I tell you what, those packs don't ever look like they've been opened up. The wrapper has seemed to have no extra wear on them. That 59 wrapper is immaculate. I mean, but you never know with different aspects. I think we all opened up packs as kids, and there always were some loose stuff. You get up there. Well, these are all tight. I've never did a research to see how these people resell or reseal the packs when they do it. But I can see I think 3 of the packs, I can actually tell that there's actually baseball cards in them. The other 2, you can't see anything on them. A couple of them, I could tell what player was on them. So
Lee, you also have some autograph cards?
I got a few of them. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
I mean, but those are picking up a head of steam too. I mean, autograph cards, man, are hot.
Yeah, they're. I mix them in with a lot of times with the regular cards. They seem to get found all right, and then subcategory them under autograph. So if anybody's just looking for the autograph stuff, you can go into the autograph and go.
Hey, what are those round album covers you have in the auction?
Those they're Goodwin Champions. An album, and I have a feeling that these were maybe skinned, but it's a beautiful album. I think it was 8 pages, but somebody obviously pulled them apart. But the one has 4 Hall of Famers on it. The other one has 2 Hall of Famers on it.
Yeah.
They're nice 19th century period pieces. Obviously, they were put in an album at some time, but I mean, I love pieces like that, and they obviously tend to go for a fair amount of money. But in the condition that these are, it's a good chance to get something like this at a reasonable price.
They're cool.
Yeah.
Now, Lee, when does the auction end?
The auction ends Thursday, tomorrow, and you need to get your initial bid in by 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to get into extended bidding. Real easy to register if you haven't registered already. 500 lots. I run auctions every 6 weeks. So I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I got some complete sets of 61, 62, and 67 baseball and 69 football.
Good stuff.
Great stuff,
man.
yeah.
Great variety.
There's a Jim Brown rookie card in that auction too.
There is a nice, it's a 4.5.
Yeah.
I mean, a good solid mid-grade.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
On that. So
all right, Lee.
I got some high grade 71s that'll, those are really tough to find. So there's a Aaron and a 8.5 and a Munson and an 8.
Munson. Oh yeah, Thurman Munson. All right, kiddo. Good luck in the auction, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Go to sterlingsportsauctions.com, correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Lee Behrens, Sterling Sports Auction. One of the guys that gets it, understands it, and just good for the, good for the average collector. That's who.
A lot of neat stuff in there, Zap.
Yeah.
A lot of neat stuff, different
Good
price
stuff.
ranges, something for everyone, as we like to say.
All right, it's time to bring in our main guest, our guest host for the rest of the show, our good friend from the Love of the Game Auctions, Al Crisafulli. How are you, Mr. Crisafulli?
Hey, guys, what's happening?
Now, you've been on, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been man about town for the last several weeks, haven't you? Been traveling?
Traveled the whole country. I did 7,000 miles in 22 days.
Yeah. I mean, did you do this with like your van, your RV, or did you just? Was this?
I jogged it like Forrest Gump.
Oh, I mean, was it
He was running.
Leg hurt.
was it business, pleasure, or both?
Oh, so a lot of time, and I have not done this to any great degree since the beginning of the pandemic, but a big part of what I do with love of the game is I'll travel around the country a couple times a year and visit with collectors and pick up consignments in person and that sort of thing.
But
And
how do you do that, Al? I mean, obviously, you don't just get in your van or your car and start driving. You
just
set
like
up
randomly ringing doorbells on the way.
This looks like a place that has
Hey, you got
cards.
any cards?
So what I do is I decide where do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Do I want to go to the Southwest? Do I want to go to the Northwest or what? And then I will reach out to customers or longtime consigners, and I'll say, hey, I'm going to be in your area around this date. Do you have anything that you want me to pick up? And then if they say yes, then I'll sort of build a trip around that. And
Gotcha.
this time was Arizona. I went out actually for a combination. A bunch of buddies of mine get together every spring training and go to a bunch of games together and have dinners. And when I say a bunch of buddies, it's turned into just a really cool thing. I think there were 50 people this year.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And
You guys do a lot of drinking, Al? A lot of drinking on that trip?
No, not in the least. But you know what? A lot of times, guys bring their families, and
So you're definitely doing some drinking then.
no question about it. But it's it was a lot of fun. I sort of built that into the trip. And
that's great. That's good when you can do that.
It was really cool, and picked up some really good stuff along the way, which was excellent.
Well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Hey, Al, I asked Lee a question before you came on regarding programs. Maybe you can shed some light on it. I have some programs. I think you heard us. You were in the green room. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like those programs that I have, what would you recommend? Like, as I have a program for the entire history of the Boston Ball Club, from 1901 to last year, one program from each year. And the first 40 or 50 of them are all scored. And I've been researching them, the game, how many people are at the game. Am I better off selling those individually if I decide to sell them, or sell them in lots of 3 or 4? How would you? What would your recommendation be?
These are Boston Red Sox?
Starting with the Boston Americans, yeah, the Red
All right.
Sox.
Well, major league programs are much more valuable than minor league ones.
No, these are all major league. Wise guy. That's like leaning, JM. That's like leaning into a left hook.
Yeah. So throw out last year's, because the Red Sox were a minor league team last year. So.
Good point. Go ahead. Continue.
I'm very bullish on programs. I think the hobby is beginning to look at other things that to collect. Cards are great, and everybody loves cards. But once you have the set, once you have the thing, most collectors start looking for companion pieces for that thing. And scorecards, I think people are starting to realize, are much more rare than cards, as they're collecting tickets for tickets have been hot for a long time. Now people are looking for corresponding scorecards for that game, or for that season, and that sort of thing. And so I actually think that old scorecards from the turn of the century are very highly collectible. We've sold early 1900s and late 19th century scorecards are very valuable, but we sold early 1900 scorecards, 1904, 1906, for a couple $1,000s. For nondescript games. And then when you get scorecards for what I call milestone games, they're even more valuable than that.
It's interesting because, just not to beat on this, but like the first one I had was 1901, and Cy Young was the winning pitcher. But I went on Baseball Reference, and there was only like 1,900 people at the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, isn't there a remote?
But 1901, Zap, was that not the first year of the...
First year
that's the
in
first year of the
existence.
organization. Yeah, right.
First year in existence.
Yeah.
So my question, Al, is if there were only 1,900 people, isn't there a real distinct possibility that this may be only one of these programs? I mean, there is that possibility, right?
Sure. It's I mean, these are hard to find. They were not, see, I'm really big on things that were not intended to be collected. Scorecards were not intended to be collected. They were intended for you to follow along with the game and be able to go back and see what's happened in the game before, right this very minute. What did this guy do the last time he got up? That sort of thing. And also a way for you to communicate what happened in the game to the people who were at home who don't have, the games weren't on the radio.
But isn't that the key with these things that we're talking about, the tickets, even player contracts, different from a card because they were at the game. They were at the game. They were on site. They were with the player. There's a difference with those things. Not the cards. Sure. Cards are still number one. We know that. But these things have a different aura about them, don't they?
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. And they're great pieces. A lot of times the scorecards have beautiful artwork. They have beautiful photography inside. Right. And if you're lucky enough to get one, sometimes, especially in the early part of the 20th century, some of those scorecards were scored meticulously in pencil.
Yeah, some of these are. Yeah, they're kind of cool.
It was an art. Keeping game scores an art. I know that. I taught my son how to score baseball games when he was 10, 11 years old, and on nights that I used to have to work late, he would actually score the Yankee game and leave a piece of paper on the kitchen table for me when I got home
to look at.
That's great. I could see what happened in the game, and that's a pretty cool. That's kind of a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it is.
All right, listen, we're a little behind time. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We got a whole bunch of stuff we're going to talk about, Al. We're going to be all over the place. We're going to talk about, obviously, your next major auction. We're going to talk about the hobby in general. We're going to talk about JM's hat and how he should probably consider burning it. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
All right.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
We are back, and Al Crisafulli from Love of the Game Auctions. I'm a little irritated.
Uh-oh.
You know, Ellen, my grandson's here visiting us, and my daughter. And Ellen took them to the beach. And I had a package of Planters peanuts that I hid under the freaking cookie jar so that when they were gone, I could eat it between commercial breaks.
Yeah.
Gone.
They took it.
Gone. Somebody knuckled it.
So what were you just eating? Because you were eating something.
Almonds. And almonds get stuck in you. You know,
They're healthier, though. They're healthier for you
please,
than the Planters
please.
peanuts.
I'm irritated.
What kind of peanuts were they?
Planters.
What kind?
Unroasted Planters peanuts.
Just peanut, not cashews.
No.
All right.
They took the whole
It could have been. It could have been dry roasted. They could have been. I mean, it's a valid question.
I mean,
It is a valid question.
Thank you, Al.
I'm irritated.
I'm with you.
All right, Al, let's talk about, before we talk about the industry, let's talk about the next major auction.
Yes.
What's scheduled?
We've got a killer auction set up that'll go live in just a few weeks. It's going to close April 29th. I'm really excited about this one. We have what is probably the hobby's finest autographed 52 mantle in this one. That is
really
just a beast of a card. The signature is a vintage ballpoint PSA 10. And I've only seen two ballpoint PSA 10s. One was a PSA 2 card, and this one is a very well-centered, very attractive PSA 3 that looks like it could be a 4, but it's got a little bit of wear on one edge that keeps it out of a 4 holder. It's just a fantastic card. It's had 2 owners, and I'm really excited to see where this one goes. There's also it's part of a near complete signed 52 top set that we're selling card by card in this auction, including the Jackie Robinson, which is also beautiful. I'm really excited about it. We've also got a great 19th century selection, probably the best that we've had in a while. Lots of really cool cards there. There's great memorabilia. We're finishing up with the sale of the Barney Pelty collection that we had in our last auction, and now we're starting to work on selling the collection of a gentleman named Bill Skiff, who was he played with the 1926 Yankees. He had a very short major league career, then managed in the Pacific Coast League for a long time and became a scout, and he was a scout right through the 50s. And so he left behind a lot of contracts and photos and correspondence between himself and different ball clubs.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Really, really cool thing.
Wow.
You know, my favorite thing from his collection, he was an advanced scout for the Yankees, and so they would send him ahead to go watch the teams that the Yankees were going to play, and he had these little books where he would take notes on different players. So he's scouting like Reggie Jackson, and Kathy catfish.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a really, you know, that probably doesn't have a ton of value, but for me, that's a really, really cool piece of memorabilia.
Hey,
And
Al, I've always interested you and your colleagues in the business. What type of sort of pre-auction planning do you do? Like in terms of, okay, I have all these items. I'm going to put this in this auction, but I'm going to save this one for the next one. So that's the first thing. And then post-auction, what kind of post-auction sort of analysis do you do to say, you know what, that went well, but maybe we should have saved? Does that go on with you in your game?
for sure, I am forever focused on that stuff. You know, we do things a little bit differently than a lot of the auction houses in that, you know, we're smaller, so we can do this. I try not to have items that cannibalize each other in the auction.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you know, if I have two items that are the same thing and they're similar in grade, the only way that I'll run them both in the same auction is if it's a really liquid item. You know, so if it's a 68 tops mantle, that's one thing.
Right.
But if it's you know, if it's a 19th century card, or if it's a, you know, a T206 Cobb, I try not to have too many of those, because I think what happens is you know, they split the bidding. And
Yeah,
so
right.
that doesn't help anybody. You know, in terms of, you know, my job is to get the most money possible for consigners, and having 15, you know, 52 mantles in an auction.
That's a very good point,
Yeah.
Al. Very good
And
point.
so there's a lot of planning that happens there, because I know, okay, I've got one of these for the next auction. There's one in this auction, and somebody just came along and they want to consign one. I'm now thinking two auctions ahead, and you know, that happens with sets. It also happens when you're dealing with the with grading, and you have to factor in time.
Yep.
For grading companies and authentication companies, you know, particularly on things like tickets where or packs where there's a longer window.
Yep.
Have those things done, and so, you know, there's a lot of that kind of planning on the back end. I am forever analyzing number of bidders, number of bids, you know, what percentage of the auction sold in the auction. I like that number over, you know, 95% whenever I can. You know, it's you know, I'm always looking at the different categories and how the different categories did. You know, we try and have a dedicated section for postcards in every auction. We try and have a dedicated section for photos, type 1 photos in every auction. And, you know, we'll occasionally break out an interesting collection. You know, one of the things that we did recently that I thought was really neat was in our catalog, we had a complete run of New York Yankees versus Brooklyn Dodgers World Series ticket stub for every game.
Yep.
And so we're able to break that out into its own section.
Sure.
And you know, sell those items almost separately from the rest of the auction. They broke out from the rest of the ticket section. So we're always looking at how those things did, and you know, in that case, I think they did really well.
That's cool.
You know, that section did well. But yeah, it's. I mean, if you're not looking at that stuff, you don't have your eye on the ball. You know?
Now, what happened? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm also looking at what everybody else is doing. What are
Right.
the, you know, what are the other auctions doing that's successful?
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Al, what's the strategy if an item doesn't sell? What do? Do you kind of just reassess the reason why, and you put it into another future auction at a lower starting bid? What is that? What's the science behind that?
Yeah, sometimes it's the starting bid. Sometimes it's just where it was in the auction. You know, I've had things that didn't sell that, you know, I'll look. Sometimes when a piece comes in, I know it's not going to sell.
Yeah.
You know, it comes in as part of a collection, and I'll say, all right, we're gonna give this a try. We're gonna, you know, let's see what it does. Other times, you know, we put something in the auction. It might be where it was placed in the auction. It's not always the opening bid. Sometimes it's where it was in the catalog. You know, if you try and emphasize things. You try and give everything a little bit of marketing love during the course of the auction. But sometimes it just, you know, it doesn't go. I've had things that didn't sell in one auction that sold, you know, in the following auction for great prices. So, we look at everything, and obviously it's our goal to sell everything. We want to be able to to do right by our consigners every time. But once in a while, it just doesn't happen, and so then we assess and we try and figure out what could we do differently. Maybe there's a better way to describe it. Maybe there's a better way to emphasize it in the auction, that sort of thing.
Al, is the modern market cooling off?
Yeah. I mean, I think you can see that, and we have never. I don't want to say we never really got into the modern market, but we just really chose during that boom to emphasize what we do well, which is vintage and pre-war particularly.
Right.
So we never really got into this speculative part of the modern market. I don't understand it, and that's probably the main reason why we didn't really go down that route. It's a whole different kind of collecting.
You know what's interesting though? I've had some conversations with some of these young guns that are running shows. One being, as a matter of fact, he's going to be joining us in May. JM, do you know Chris Costa?
I've heard sure, yes.
Yeah, Chris is going to be joining us in the studio. Chris he's very well known in the city of Boston. He's teaming up with the Red Sox and doing a card show at Fenway Park in the Concourse.
Right.
So Chris is going to be coming on the week before that. And I was talking to Chris. I mean, we had a nice candid conversation. And he wants to come on the show because he knows that we are kind of a vintage-based show, and he's seeing it. And he goes, Zap, I got to get more vintage guys. I got to get more vintage people to the show. I want to get more vintage dealers to the show, which I found quite interesting.
I'll tell you what I'm seeing.
This is a 20-something-year-old kid that's marketing. He's pretty savvy.
Both you guys can comment on this because Zap, when we do shows with whether it's with the book or whatever, we always wherever you go, you said we do a walk around. I do a walk around because I'm a collector too.
Yeah,
I'm seeing the flip side. I'm seeing what I'll look at and I'll call younger collectors looking more at vintage now.
Well, that's what he's saying too. No, I'm saying the same thing.
They're looking at the Babe Ruths now. They're looking at the Lou Gehrig. They can't all afford it at this point, but they're looking beyond the Fernando Tatises and the Mike Trouts.
That goes hand in hand with what I was saying.
Yeah.
The modern market is softening.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the collectors are going away.
Yeah.
They're changing their strategy.
Yeah. And then there's that line between what you guys as experts at vintage cards call vintage and someone who's maybe in their 20s or 30s.
Good point.
They might consider, you don't consider Bob Gibson vintage, right? They might consider Bob Gibson vintage. They might consider Reggie Jackson vintage. You see what I'm saying? Or a Dennis, the 70s, the 60s, 70s guys,
You're
So
I generally divide it up into like pre-war,
right?
Post-war vintage, which I sort of cut off at the end of 1973 when Topps started producing cards in one series.
Gotcha.
And I think after 1973, there are still great cards and collectible cards, and believe me, in my personal collection, those are the cards I collected when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I have a full run of 1970s Topps sets. I love that stuff. But just for the purposes of definition, that's what I use is 73.
Right.
Al, I still look, and when I dig, there are a lot of obscure vintage series and sets.
Sure.
Some of them don't get much love.
Yeah.
What is the reason for that? I mean, they're rare, they're vintage. I can't put my finger on the pulse as to why that happens.
I think the
T207s. T207, good example.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's a couple of things at work in my opinion. Okay, T207s, it's a great example of a set that has never really gotten the love that it deserves. It's a really complicated set.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of weird rarities, different degrees of rarity among the cards. The front back combinations, there's some really tough ones. But there's no Wagner and there's no Cobb, and it's just like Diamond Stars, which has no Ruth and no Gehrig. They're beautiful sets, but they're missing the one two biggest stars so people shy away. I think that's an issue with sets like that. And then I think there's another issue which has become an enormous pet peeve of mine that and I may have even spoken about this here before, but there is no more standard catalog. There hasn't been a standard catalog published since 2017.
That's a great point.
That was a resource. Collectors would buy that and flip through it and learn about really obscure regional issues.
Yes, that's a great point.
It seems like everybody's chasing after the dollars. Nobody wants to publish that book. And that book is hard to do. And Bob Lemke's not around anymore.
Right. That's a great point.
And so, it is a huge pet peeve of mine, because there used to be a place, and it's not just for the obscure sets, but when you discovered something, you discovered a new variation, you discovered an error, you found out some information that nobody had ever known before, you would report that to the standard catalog, and that became sort of the clearinghouse, the compendium for all of the new discoveries of the hobby.
That's a great point.
Buy that book every year. So now nobody knows what they are.
Good point.
So, it gets really difficult to learn about this stuff without.
We are chatting with Al Crisafulli from Love of the Game Auctions. JM.
Yes, sir.
You ready?
For what?
CSA.
All right. I have to put my glasses on.
He's got to put the glasses on. Jesus.
And I have to get my broadcast voice also. All right, Zap. CSA Shows is proud to present the Chantilly Show, being held on March 31st to April 2nd, held at the Dulles Expo Center in Chantilly, Virginia, just minutes from the Dulles International Airport. Celebrating over 27 years at the same location, there will be over 300 dealer tables exhibiting on over 100,000 square feet of space, with vintage sports cards and memorabilia, as well as modern-day sports treasures. You won't have to look very far for that special card, bat, ball, or autograph. Major auction houses and third-party grading companies will be on site to assist you with your collecting and authentication needs. Some of your favorite superstars will be on hand, including football greats Trevor Lawrence, Jamar Chase, C.D. Lamb, Micah Parsons, Randy Moss, Emmitt Smith, and many, many more. For more information, go to www.csashows.com. That's the Chantilly Show, where you can find all of your sports collectible treasures.
So you mean soon to be new Patriots quarterback Lamar Jackson's not going to be there?
Listen, okay? Make the deal. Okay?
Right?
Make the deal.
Right?
I'm
Make the deal.
I'm still pro Belichick. I love him.
Make the deal.
Mac Jones. Listen. I don't care. I'll give you the next 3 first-round picks. Belichick sucks at first-round picks. We get better players in the 5th round. I'll give you Mac Jones and my next 3 number ones for Lamar Jackson today.
I agree.
Make the deal. And I'll keep wearing this hat.
Al, can you pull some strings for us? We really need them.
I'm not helping any Boston team.
No, why would he do that? He's a Yankee
Well, he's
fan.
just a friend.
His son's scoring Yankee games, for Christ's sake.
Hey, Al, off the top of your head, right now, what is, in your opinion, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire in this one, the most overrated card on the market right now?
Wow.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
How about the 52 mantle?
No, I think that 52 mantle is sort of the granddaddy of post-war vintage. I think it's the most important post-war card, and it has been for decades. So I don't think that one is an overrated card. I know people love the Jordan rookie. I know they love it, and
that's my second card. I totally agree with that. It's like there's 450 million of them out there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
I recognize Jordan for what he is, and I recognize the importance of 1986 Fleer basketball for what it is. There are 300 and some odd PSA 10 Jordan rookies out there.
Yeah,
and so it's a great card, but in terms of what that card has sold for, I don't even necessarily think that a Jordan rookie is an overrated card. I think that a Jordan rookie graded 10 is an overrated.
Very, very, very good observation. All right, we have about a minute and a half left for this
You all right?
Well, see,
everything
no,
okay?
I got a text. No, I got a text from Mr. Drelich. He would like to communicate with our producer. So, with that being said,
okay.
What is the most underrated card off the top of your head?
Post-war rookies or post-war cards in general.
Post-war.
Frank Robinson rookie card.
Really?
That's a good one. I like
Frank
that.
Frank Robinson is Superman.
I like
say
that.
This all the time.
I
We
buy
never
that one.
talk about Frank Robinson, Al. You hit it. You're right. You're right.
How about
He's one of the
vintage? How about
Right.
tobacco? How about tobacco? Is there an underrated tobacco?
Tobacco, I am shocked at the lack of love. Well, T207s is a big one, but the triple folders, I think, don't get anywhere near what they should in terms of, as a mainstream issue with great subjects. There's all kinds of weird front back variations there. You know who's a pro at those cards? That set is Lee from Sterling. He knows more about that set than anybody. Yeah, he really knows that stuff.
All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Al Crisafulli is going to stick around with us. We're going to bring Joe Drelich in. E90-2, man. I have an E90.
E90, yeah.
Come on, man. That card needs to get. I'm begging the public. That card needs to get some love.
All of the
I own one.
All the Caribbean issues also.
I have the Wagner E90-2. It's a PSA 2. It's a beautiful card. Got to get it up there. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
They are prized possessions, and you need a place to store them that is safe and secure. The eBay Vault is exactly that. An insured, climate-controlled facility with state-of-the-art security that guards your valuable collection around the clock. Your Vault account is protected by two-step verification and easily accessible through eBay Collection. And everything stored in the eBay Vault is backed by Authenticity Guarantee. Buying and selling is a seamless experience. When you buy an eligible card on eBay, it can be sent directly to the eBay Vault at checkout. Or, if it's already in the eBay Vault, you can just keep it there. And selling from the eBay Vault is just as easy. Every card in the vault has been expertly inspected, detailed, and photographed, so you can quickly sell it with a pre-populated listing. And if your buyer chooses to withdraw their card from the eBay Vault, we handle packing, shipping, and insurance. And same goes for you. If you want that rare rookie card in your hands, you can have it shipped to you at any time. Collect like a pro with the eBay Vault.
Was ripping you?
Yeah.
And Zap, are you talking, or can I do the spot?
We're having our own party over here.
Hello. Sponsor. The eBay Vault is climate controlled, insured, and protected with 24-hour security. Soon, you'll be able to send cards already in your collection directly to the eBay Vault. They will take high-quality photos of the front and back of the card and document all the details for your viewing pleasure and to make the listing to sell process seamless. For more information, go to eBay. That's ebay.com, connecting buyers and sellers globally. Speaking of sponsors, should Mike Provenzal be doing commercials for cemeteries or funeral homes with that voice? Welcome to the Shady Rest Funeral Home. This is a PSA 8.5 casket with rich Corinthian leather.
He does have a beautiful speech.
Good Lord. He should be a mortician right now.
And then you get Grady, who should be on the Flintstones. You know?
Grady's got a voice like Jerry Mathers. It's like,
exactly. All right, listen, let's bring in our good friend Joe Drelich from the CSA show. And we don't know what his future is going to hold, but let's focus on the CSA show right now. Joseph, how are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you? Hey, John.
What's up, Joe? How you doing, buddy?
You know everybody, right? You know Al, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Joe,
sure.
why don't you tell us about the big shindig down at the CSA shows? What do you got going on?
Yeah, so this is our, break. Oh, I apologize. The phone here. That's our break from the hiatus of the last 6 months. We haven't had a show since October, so a lot of buildup for our April show, which is coming up this weekend. It's April. It's actually March 31st, April 1st, April 2nd. I always want to say that. And we have over 80 autographed guests, completely sold out, 130,000 square feet, same location, Dulles Expo Center, csashows.com. We're really looking forward to a great event. So,
hey, Joe, I mean, huge names. I'm talking like, we know the older guys that we love, but I mean, Justin Jefferson, C.D. Lamb, I mean, these are like front-line current NFL players, in addition to the Hall of Famers, new Hall of Famer Rondy Barber, Tony Baselli, just a great group of autographs.
Yeah, sort of the cool thing about that show is it's had a huge footprint for being a football show back 25, 30 years ago when the original owner Marco Roll started that show, and here we are 30 years later, still producing these big events with big name stars, and like you said, to your point, The April show tends to be one of the ones for us where we're able to get those guys because it's
Right.
they're on break basically.
Yeah,
It's right
exactly.
before training camp. They're
Right.
certainly training, but the schedule's a little bit more flexible. And yeah, I mean, the lineup is incredible. I mean, like you said, I mean, a lot of the big time receivers, Jamar Chase is also there.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we these are guys, and these are guys like with the one thing I can tell you is the way the evolution of the autograph industry has happened over, since COVID really. Number one, these guys make so much money. And number two, they really are pulling back from doing these live events. So one thing I will say, that you touched on it, is if you do want to meet these guys, take the chance and do it now, because a lot of them, they're just not doing these.
It's a great point, because they don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, they're still signing autographs, but
Yeah.
they're doing private signings.
Correct.
They're keeping it private, and they're not really coming out to see the public.
Yeah.
As hard as we push and we try to make it a real fan-friendly event, from our group photo ops, we allow 5 people to come in and take a picture. We try to really make it an event where a family can come in, and kids come in for free and everything. So we want to create that experience too, along with the card show, to connect fans with their heroes. And like I said, the retired guys are out there, for sure, because it's a revenue stream. But the new guys, it really is a special treat to have some of these guys.
Al, by the way, jump in anytime you want. Just to touch upon the Philly show. I mean, the reviews on the Philly show this year were off the charts. I mean, we had Brian Drent was on, a couple of other guys that were there. They couldn't say enough about it. They said, in their opinion, it was the best Philly show ever. And you had, was it Michael Rubin there?
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
For Fanatics. I mean,
Yeah. We had gotten word from the Fanatics athlete rep that Michael might be stopping by. He is from Philadelphia, and I found out through speaking with him that he only lives about 20 minutes from the event. But yeah, he came to visit the event. I expected a 30-second to a minute interaction with him, and I spent over an hour with him, touring him around the show, and he picked my brain, and he's a guy that's a I learned a lot from him, believe me. And he asked all the questions, but I learned a lot, just the way he operates and his intensity level and his passion. I'm going to be on the optimistic side for sure. I know everybody's, worried when the big bad giant comes into the room. But I could, tell you just from my interaction with him, I mean, very genuine person. I've had, follow-ups with some of his team members, and they're very, very interested in understanding and learning the nuts and bolts of our industry. And it doesn't appear to me that they're just coming in and trying to, clobber everybody over the head. I mean, we'll have to see how it all works out and plays out, but it was a great interaction with him. He spent a lot of time on the show floor. He then went to the Chicago show afterwards. So, it's exciting to see that kind of energy and ability to, scale marketing. I mean, if you want to talk about marketing, I mean, everything we wear now, sports, right, is Fanatics.
It's just
right?
amazing. It's just amazing.
They've marketed very, very well. So
I've seen Al firsthand at Philly show, that different show. And I know you love that interaction. That's important for what you do, isn't it, Al?
Yeah, it's the most important, and for my company, it's really the way that I differentiate. I've got to get back into that Philly show. Joe took that show over and turned it into a monster of a show.
Joe, you really did. You really
thank
did.
you.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's the team effort, though. Yeah, team effort
I used to do
for
that
sure.
show religiously, and eventually it was just like, oh, this show is dying, and so I stopped doing it, and then Joe got involved, and now it's like I can't get back in. It's it's a great show. Joe is definitely to be commended. He gets how these things work and what makes him important and what makes him great, and he really does an awesome job.
Oh,
So, Joe,
thank you, Al. Appreciate that.
So what does the future hold? I mean, any particular direction you?
Yeah, there's there's a lot. Let me see what I can touch on quickly.
Thank you.
All right, so
Appreciate it.
Which direction are you going? Northeast.
Philly show.
What did I say?
All right, Philly show has a bright future for sure.
you.
A lot
Okay.
of square footage that we can still expand to, so we don't have to worry about that until September. But I'll come back on and go there, and then. Of course, the elephant in the room is the national. We're really excited about, what the future holds there. And I can tell you, one of the things I can say is the team that I'm with, Jimmy Ryan and Brian Coppola from JP Sports, they run the New York shows. Not only have we been business associates, and I consider Jimmy and Brian friends, and Jimmy and I are close, and our wives are close. So it's really fun and lucky for me to be involved with those guys. And I can tell you that we're working tirelessly right now behind the scenes. I can share with you that we've been out to Cleveland multiple times, walking through that facility, which will be that'll be our debut, 2024. We're excited about that event. All the good stuff will start to get unveiled, later in the calendar year this year. We're currently seeking out new locations. And what I can tell you is one of those locations is not Atlantic City.
Thank you.
I have to be honest. I actually like Atlantic City for a lot of things. I understand the flaws, and a lot of those flaws are fixable. But what I can tell you is the cities that we're looking at are a lot of new cities that we've heard loud and clear from industry.
Very cool.
To check out these areas. And there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm happy as we get later in the year to come on. And one of the things that Jimmy, Brian, and myself plan to do is pull the curtain back and kind of expose the industry a little bit to what our world looks like and why things are the way they are. So there'll be a lot of really cool things to talk about. We're super excited about what's ahead. So
I'm looking forward to it. Hey, by the way, JM, this year you're out. You know that.
That's fine. It conflicts with my summering, so I'm good.
You're out. We're not doing a book signing. We're going to do your show from there.
It conflicts with my beach time.
I got Grady. I got Crisafulli. I have Orlando. I've got them all. You're out.
I'd like to go to Cleveland though next year if you could. Even if we don't have anything going.
Never heard anybody ever say that.
No, I did. I had fun. I've been to Cleveland. It's fun.
I like to go to Cleveland.
And the Football Hall of Fame is right down the road. It's a
rock and roll
Hall of Fame.
Something. Now here's a little marketing thing.
Cleveland's a fun town.
What you do is you get someone that's just inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you have them serenading us as people are entering the National. How's that?
It could happen.
Joe, how about you hire me to be the front man for the Cleveland National, and I can start with, I want to go back to Cleveland. That could be like, I'll be the guy, like the only guy that wants to go to Cleveland. I'm your guy.
All right. I like it.
Listen, we were there, I don't know, how long ago was Cleveland? 3, 4, 5 years ago? I can't remember. When were we there last for the National?
2018, I believe.
2018. All I can tell you about Cleveland is actually we enjoyed it. We really enjoyed it. Liked the venue. The deep dish pizza in Cleveland is actually better than Chicago's. That's all I'm saying.
That's pretty good.
A Cleveland question. Was that where, I think maybe I'm right. Was that where Leighton pulled when the 55 Bowman Mantle got pulled out of the pack? Yep. That was Cleveland, right?
That's when Rico almost fell off the chair.
Yeah, I was standing outside of you guys. I was sort of watching, but I was sort of shopping too. And I'll never forget that scream ever. I was standing in earshot of that.
The funniest thing about that card was Rico sitting next to me, right? And Leighton hands Rico the card. He's like this. I'm not touching it.
He wouldn't want to touch it.
I'm not touching it. Very, very, very funny. All right, listen, we're just about out of time. Joe, we're looking forward to seeing you at the National. Remember the CSA show?
Yep.
This coming weekend.
You got it.
Right? And Al, as always, man, you know what you mean to us. We love you guys. We can't thank you folks enough for the support.
Absolutely.
During the commercial break, we were talking about how the numbers have been staggering even the radio station makes comments to us. And it's like, it's been unbelievable, the reception and how this show has grown over the last 7 years. And it's because of guys like you. So we really want to thank you guys and obviously to the general public. With that being said, JM, have a great week.
Good to see you guys. Thanks, guys.
Rico scrounging off the Red Sox this afternoon. That I know for a fact. And to our viewers and listeners, happy collecting.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.